Alright, here's a little way you can outline all three chords in a 1-4-5 blues, and using the same lick, right? So what I'm doing is I'll show you a couple different ways to do this. I'll show you a more economical way to play the same thing, but this is good kind of practice because before I learn the fretboard and could piece everything together, this is kind of how I faked my way through blues jams, right? And you can start combining things and repeating them in different spots, right? So I did that Chuck Berry video on how to play the same Chuck Berry lick in every position, and I'll show you how you can take one chord from that and then play a different chord using this kind of trick, and that's how you can kind of start piecing things together before you really start to, theoretically see everything, I guess. So what you can do is this little lick, third position of each chord, right? So over A7, we're in the third box. Over D7, we're in the third box of D. D minor pentatonic, right? And the same thing for E, third position of E minor pentatonic. Alright, so that's what we're doing. So we're going to go bend up 13 on B, and then get 12 on E, go back to 13, bend up, and then get 10 on B, and then get 11 on G, and then go 10 to 12 on B. Alright, and then you can just finish it going 11G to 10B and slide off. And that'll be the pattern for each box, right? Then we go down to D. Now there's a few ways you can look at this. Like, you may not visualize yet where the third box is of D pentatonic, right? So you can see this in a few different ways. You can look at it as D is your root note. Like, again, you got to know some of the notes on your fretboard to do this, but you got to know that you're going to the root. There's D, and that sits your third box. Right? Or you can look at it as, well, I'm going to bend up on the minor third, right? So here's F. If you go up the scale, F is your flatted third, right? So same thing up here, right? C, it's your minor third. So you can look at it as, well, I'm bending into my minor third, or bending out of my minor third up to the major third. That's what gives it its sound. That's what we're doing basically, right? So you can look at it as a root note thing, a positional thing, or you could look at it as you're bending into from your minor third to your major third. So however you want to visualize that, that's what we're doing here. All right, so then you go down to D, bend up on 6, get 5 on E, bend up 6 again, 3 on B, and repeat. And you'll have 4 on G to 3 to 5 on B. Alright, and then E7, bend up on 8 on B, and then get 7 on E, bend up 8 again, B on 5, 6 on G to 5, 7 on B. Alright, then you just walk it down when you get to the turnaround. Then you can land on your E7 triad right here. Just a 7-7 or 9-9 GB, 10 on E. Alright, and so that's what we're doing, is kind of outlining, right? And then you can do, like, say you want to do that Chuck Berry riff, right? Well, we can do the Chuck Berry thing over the one chord, and then we can do this new lick in the BB box over the 4 chord, right? So you could do something like this. Right? And so that way you're not doing the same thing, but now you have two different ways to like get into stuff, right? And that way you can kind of start piecing all these little things together. And for a long time, I was just a guitar player that never knew any theory, right? Like I could play stuff, but I had no idea what I was doing. I just kind of came up with these little tricks and things like this to do this. And there's still, I mean, there's tons of monster players that still couldn't tell you what scale they're playing or what they're doing. I got a friend of mine that's just a monster, just an absolute beast. He's like 65 years old, and he just, I mean, it's incredible, right? But he can't tell me, he doesn't know any scales. It's crazy, right? So there are ways to do it without having to learn all that stuff. I recommend you do it because it is helpful, but you don't have to, right? So I'm just trying to show you little ways of things I did before I learned all that stuff, just little hacks that you can come up with, right? And so the other way to play this same thing we're doing without having to move all the way up, 9 frets to be in each box, you can play it all in one spot and be more economical with your playing, right? You can play it here and just go on the A on the 1 chord, and then on the 4 chord on D, right? And then back to your 1, and then your 5 chord, back to your 4, back to your 1, right? So that's how you can, it's good to know all different ways, right? So if you're moving around the fretboard, you can jump up into positions and shift around, or you can do everything in one spot. So that lick in one spot would be bending down 5 on G, and then catching B under it, which is a cool way to do anything in the first position, right? You should come up with all sorts of cool stuff, right? So bend down G on 5, and then get B underneath it, bend it down again, and catch 7 on D, and then just go 5-7 to finish it off. Alright, and then back to here, bend up 6, get 5 on E, and then you're going to get a 7, which is your D, okay, and then 5-7, and then same thing with E7, right? We'll just go up to 8-7. Notice how this all works out of your A minor box. This is all out of box 1. 3 chords in box 1, right? So you can just go, instead of being like the normal lick is like all that kind of stuff, right? But right underneath it, you have your E. Because when you're in the first position pentatonic box of A minor, you're also in the 3rd box of E minor pentatonic. You're also in like, the 4th box of D minor. You just got to shift your thinking into all that, right? So there's another way you could look at all this stuff. So then E7 is just going to be 8, and then 7 on E. And then just land on 5 on B. And that's it. So that's just a few ways. I just kind of rambling on here. I didn't mean to go into all this stuff. I just wanted to show you this one little thing, but that's a way you can just connect everything, right? And you can kind of start piecing your fretboard together, without having to learn a whole bunch of scales and go down that rabbit hole. You can just start kind of memorizing positions. But then again, I am showing you like a 3rd position pentatonic box, so you kind of have to know some scales to do this. But either way, I'm just rambling on. I hope this helps. Just practice slow, have fun.